BJ Mafia was popping. The Jaguars go on the road in Week 14, and they lose to an AFC North opponent in the Cleveland Browns, 31-27 today. And the Jaguars had every opportunity to bounce back in a big way after losing on Monday Night Football in overtime to Jake Browning in the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Jaguars go out there and they lose to Joe Flacco, who just put up 31 points on our defense. The Jaguars right now, it is time to panic. I'm not saying that the season's over. Let's not overreact. But a wise man once said, you cannot keep doing the same things and expect different results. That applies to anything in life. Press Taylor, Mike Caldwell, you can't keep doing the same things and expect different results. I'm not saying Doug Peterson's not held accountable. He needs to fix some things. Trevor Lawrence needs to stop the inexcusable interceptions, the running the wrong routes, miscommunications with the wide receivers, interior of the offensive line not protecting well enough, not run blocking well enough. The Jaguars not generating enough pressure. There are so many things that I could list out. But it is time to panic about the Jaguars just a little bit. Nothing is changing, so you're not going to get different results. The Jaguars are a very high turnover team. They're not moving the ball well. Third down conversions doesn't really feel like it's consistently there. And the Jaguars look like they're on fraud watch right now. But let's pump the brakes still. But it is time to panic a little bit with this team. We need to see different results. We need to see something change in order to make us feel differently. Now let's actually go ahead and address this game, because with the Cleveland Browns, I give them a lot of props. Joe Flacco went out there and looked like 2013 Joe Flacco. He played a hell of a game. Did he have a couple of throws that were underthrown, or there was some miscommunication, I guess, with a couple of his receivers? Of course there was. But Joe Flacco took care of business and got the win regardless. Flacco today, 26 of 45, 311 yards, 3 touchdowns to 1 interception, had a passer rating of a 92. Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt did a good job running out of the backfield, really getting a good push with that team. 12 carries for 51 yards for Ford, 10 carries for 27 for Hunt. And then David Njoku carved us up in that first half. He finished the game 6 catches for 91 yards and 2 touchdowns. Amari Cooper, 7 receptions for 77 yards. And Elijah Moore had a couple of big plays, especially on some critical third downs. 3 catches for 42 yards. What a hell of a game by him. And honestly, for the Cleveland Browns offense, I thought that they did a good job. Even though the Jaguars did generate 3 turnovers, I believe 2 fumbles, and they had the interception on Joe Flacco as well too, which I'll address a little bit later on. The Browns offense did their thing. Speaking about Cleveland's defense, no Thornhill, no Denzel Ward, led by Myles Garrett. Grant Delpit leaves the game, and I hope he's okay with that groin injury. But you know what? They go out there and they take care of business, and they're wreaking havoc on the Jaguars. They are the number 1 defense in the NFL for a reason, led by Myles Garrett. And just great game, honestly, by the Cleveland Browns defense. I know Jacksonville did score 27 points, but I thought for a majority of that game, Cleveland's defense really stepped up to the task. You got to give a big shout out to Greg Newsome, what he did out there on the outside. He was doing a phenomenal job bringing the juice. He brought the swagger. And I thought Newsome played a great game. Also, Martin Emerson Jr. as well, too. He recorded 2 interceptions on the afternoon. Greg Newsome had the other one. And he was just making plays all over the field. Emerson Jr. was out there just making plays everywhere. Big shout out to Cleveland's defense. They're right in the thick of things in the AFC playoff picture. And they played a hell of a game. Just want to give them props. Let's actually talk about the Jaguars now. Now, talking about Jacksonville, let's talk about their offense, and let's talk about number 16 quarterback at the helm, Trevor Lawrence. I thought, considering the circumstances and the way the game was going, considering the fact that he just came off a pretty serious injury on Monday night, an injury that we all thought was probably going to linger for a little bit. He would miss a couple of weeks. The heart and soul of Trevor Lawrence and this kid, it speaks volumes to the kind of kid that he is and the dog that he is, man. The Jaguars should have rallied around and said, man, look at Trevor stepping up to the task, man. Everyone in that locker room should have just been fired up and ready to go out there, their hair on fire, and to run through a brick wall for this guy. And it felt like Trevor Lawrence played a good game. Don't let the stats just fool you. I'm not saying he played a great game, but considering the circumstances, Trevor Lawrence really gave his heart out there on that field, and I'm disappointed the Jaguars couldn't go out there and get a win for him. Trevor Lawrence today was 28 of 50, 257 yards, 3 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. He was sacked 4 times for 22 yards, and he also had a passer rating of a 65.2. I'm going to address the interceptions in a moment. ETN today, 14 carries for 35 yards and that touchdown on the Wildcat. Evan Ingram, hell of a performance. 11 receptions for 95 yards and 2 touchdowns. Calvin Ridley, we'll address him a little bit later on. 4 catches for 53 yards. Etienne had 4 catches for 37 yards out of the backfield. And Zay Jones, 5 catches for 29. Also a big shout out to Parker Washington. I know he had the fumble earlier, but 2 catches for 27 yards and that beautiful catch in the end zone he had. So good job for Parker Washington. Back-to-back games with a touchdown for him. Washington did have the fumble, and yes, Trevor Lawrence did have 3 interceptions. But let's talk about Trevor's interceptions really quickly. The first one on the deep shot to Zay Jones, it looked like Trevor Lawrence was trying to get Zay Jones to continue to not break stride, to continue to go up the middle of the field, and obviously that ball was intercepted. I think Zay Jones saw something differently, but Trevor Lawrence was not trying to lead him into that corner, who really kind of got away from his receiver and tried to make a play on the ball. Just a miscommunication. I'm not saying that pass was perfect. I'm not saying the idea was perfect, but I don't really put that one on Trevor Lawrence. Same thing on the second interception to Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley, it looked like, was supposed to run a skinny post. He wasn't even looking for the ball, and Trevor Lawrence either didn't time it up properly, there was a miscommunication on that route. Maybe Ridley ran the wrong route. I have no idea. And then the last interception was egregious. It was on 3rd and 1. That one was most certainly on Trevor Lawrence, but the play calling is bad. You have a 3rd and 1. The Jaguars just need to pick up a yard. And you go out there and you throw Calvin Ridley, I guess Greg Newsome, I think, was the corner on the outside. I'd have to go back and watch the tape. With Ridley on one-on-one coverage with Greg Newsome. And I have no idea what the rationale was there outside of the play calling. I don't know if Ridley gave up on the route. I don't know if that was supposed to be a back shoulder throw, and that's what Ridley was thinking. I don't know if Trevor Lawrence just threw the ball down the field and said, you know what, go out there and just make a play. I have no idea. I was at a loss for words, and that whole game had me at a loss for words. Just inexcusable. The problem is with this Jags team, well, there's a lot of problems, but with Press Taylor, Mike Caldwell, and anybody who's out there making the necessary calls in order to facilitate the game plan, a wise man once said, you cannot expect different results if you keep doing the same thing, or something along those lines. It's the same stuff every week. The guys don't look prepared. The guys have miscommunications. There is just consistently a lack of preparation or something. There is no way we keep going into every single game and expecting different results when we keep doing the exact same things. It is not good enough. This team is not performing well enough. I know that the interior of the offensive line is a weak link. I know that we were down to our 3rd left tackle. I understand that we're going to have some concentration drops once in a while. I understand we're going to have some turnovers once in a while. But you cannot have 4 turnovers and expect to beat great teams. You cannot consistently have Trevor Lawrence out there throwing interceptions and having turnovers and continue to move the ball and to move the chains down the field. And you cannot expect this defense to continue to bail out this offense when it looks like the offense at times cannot even move the ball 30, 20 yards down the field. And the Jaguars defense has to continue to generate turnovers in order to put the Jags offense in good field position. The Jaguars defense, they've got a lot of work to do. The Jaguars offense has a lot of work to do. Not having Christian Kirk out there definitely hurts, especially on 3rd down, having him coming out of the slot. Jaguars need to fix something, and I'm getting sick and tired of it. I think we're all getting sick and tired of watching the exact same product and nothing out there changing. I'm basically done venting and ranting for now. And the last thing I want to say about this before I kind of end this video is I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on Agent Zero Calvin Ridley. He really struggled in that first half, had a much better second half, but he's just been inconsistent as hell all season long. And I don't mean to take anything away from the guy. I know he works hard. I know him and Trevor, what it looks like, have a great relationship together on and off the field, but he's not what we expected, and he's not performed at the level at which we expect him to be at. But I just want to know what you guys are thinking about Calvin Ridley and whether or not we should extend him. I'll probably make a video later this week talking about it, so make sure you guys do stay tuned for that. But Jags fans, try to be positive. I'm not really looking forward, I'll say, to this Sunday night football versus the Baltimore Ravens, who just got a big overtime win versus the Rams. The Texans and the Colts, they both lose, so the Jaguars still sit atop the division. And I'm hoping that as I'm recording this video, the Buffalo Bills beat the Kansas City Chiefs. So we'll see. There's still a lot of football to be left in this season. The Jaguars have their opportunities, but man, is it frustrating. It's time to panic and to understand that something needs to change, but it's not time to throw away the season or anything like that. Still a lot of football left to be played. Jags fans, please let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Any Browns fans in here, good luck to you guys the rest of the season. I kind of hope we don't see you guys in the playoffs, but best of luck to you guys. But Jags fans, that's it for this video. Thank you guys again for sticking around throughout the whole video. Brett James, aka BJ, and like always, let's go Jags.